That reminds me, one of the questions from the audience we have is that you've done a fair amount of work in parts of town, Georgetown and other places in this country where historical review boards hold great sway. How does that hinder an architect, or does it really help you? Do you have any good war stories about going to battle with these central planners?
I'm really only 25. I live 96. Architectural review boards, there are two varieties. One, you must not build anything at all, and that the status quo is just heaven on earth. And two, well, let's see what you can do with modern architecture to fit within a historical district. The city of Philadelphia is a former school, the latter school, and the old Georgetown board really basically does not like change at all. And I get pistol whipped every time I go in there. Nantucket is even worse. The average passing, we're doing a house in Nantucket now. It took 18 passes since January till they said, oh, all right.
Wow.
It's just tough. You know, you're dealing, let me just attack that group. The Historic District Commission of Nantucket are the only review board in the world where they are elected. So you get the driver of the Sunbeam bread truck and his drunken buddy next to you, or it's just saying that doesn't look like Nantucket to us, and you want to say, you mean like you're a 50 split level, but you don't. It's just tough when you're talking to people that don't know what proportion, scale, humidity, and the like.
Hugh, Carol from her sickbed sent me a list of questions. This is one question from Carol. What does it mean to be an architect in America today? How influential can they be? Are the customers so rich that they expect to be in total control? These are commas. Do you have to go through more challenges with clients today? Have you rejected potential clients because they don't share your vision? Do you require absolute control? Or do you prefer a client with an open mind or a fixed idea of what he or she wants?
Yes to everything. No, it is incredible, because I opened my office 50 years ago last June, and I have been able to build buildings that I believe in, and basically what I was taught how to design when I was back in New Haven. The good client is one that communicates and tells me what they really want, not in the way of images, but how the program could work with the surroundings. My work, I try very hard to get it to sit down and shut up and not offend the neighbors unless I'm sitting out in the middle of an island or in the middle of a forest where nobody can see me and where I can, you know, take off the restraints. I believe that architects only have the right to lose an architectural argument to another architect. I mean, we were trained, after it took me 8 years of education, 3 years of apprenticeship before I could hang out my license. And we architects are well-trained professionals. And in will come somebody who said, well, I really want my house to be a Center Hall colonial. Why? You know, I just always wonder why someone retains an architect, and some guys are very good at it, to do a Georgian colonial house. Every time I go into that house, I wonder why these nice people, my hosts and hostess, are lying to me. I mean, you can't build an 18th century house just like it is, because it would be unlivable. No heating, no air conditioning, no plumbing, no closets, and you've got armoire all around, and all of a sudden they build these fakes and you can tell it a mile off. And why is the guy lying to me? Why doesn't he live in a house that says, right now it's the height of our civilization, the height of our culture, let's hit it for all that it's worth, from our technology and everything that we know. Now let's go back and do a Center Hall colonial. Why? That's why I'm out of work a great deal of the time.
You know, there's an impression among lay people, which I mean non-architects, that in your business, architects start with houses and then graduate to, you know, office buildings, museums, cathedrals, what have you, university. You've done your share of larger structures, but you've always kept your hand in designing private houses, not homes, right? I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to say homes. He corrected me at lunch. But why is that? Why have you stayed in residential?
I just want to point out that architects make houses. Mother makes homes. We never do homes. What was the question?
What, you've stayed in residential, even though you've always kept your hand in that. Why is that?
You get typecast like Lassie in my profession. Americans love specialists. They loathe generalists. Every architect is trained as a generalist. There's not a building type my office and I have not done. We've done a high rise to me. It was 20 stories in Athens, Greece. We've done 2 hospitals, I think 7 art galleries, 4 theaters, and yet everybody knows me as a Georgetown architect. The last Georgetown house I did was in '72, I think. And the rest of my work, basically, we've worked in 28 states and 11 foreign countries. And we're now working in 8 states and 3 foreign countries. That I smell of jet fuel. At our 50th wedding anniversary 6 years ago, my wife said, "This is a big lie. It's only 25. You've been gone the other 25."
Well, you know, I was thinking about that on the way over. There's not that much left to build in Georgetown, but there's a big world out there, and you've been in a lot of it. We have a couple of young architects with us today. If you were starting out now, is there a part of the world that you would gravitate towards?
Where the client is. It's always true. It's the old question is, what is your favorite building? And you're taught this in architectural school, the one I'm working on now. Otherwise you offend everybody in the back.
I'm going to go to some of the questions because they're being handed up from the audience and they're so much better than my questions that I'm embarrassed to not ask them. Here's a good one. Are you ever completely satisfied with the final outcome of a project, or do you always find something you should have done differently?
You bet. My profession has never produced the perfect building. If we had, we'd all be out of work. But that unit of measure that Lou Kahn, my great teacher at Yale, I showed him a building, a brand new building. It was an 18th century knockoff that went up in New Haven. We were walking back from lunch. I said, "What do you think of that, Lou?" And he said, "After 2,000 years of Western civilization, is this the best we can offer?" Isn't that a unit of measure? Who could ever live up to that? And every time you get a building up, you know you could have turned that corner a little better than you did the last time. He also said, there are no solutions in architecture. It's just the thing that works at the time. And if you copy yourself, you're dead as a smelt.
Is it true that, I've heard this, but I want to ask you directly, that when you design a home, you also...
House.
I did it. When you design a house, you also insist on doing the interior design as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you know, to make this incredible process, the creative process, it's a terribly difficult thing to do. It's something you can't do in a committee. You have to do it alone. You have self-doubts. If it doesn't come, you feel like you've been a liar and a cheat. You should have opened a gift shop at National Airport long ago. And then all of a sudden it goes together. And when it goes click, you know how it turns its corner and it has its own order. And architecture without order is not architecture. And you hear these voices back there, all these guys that knew better, that have taught you to be an architect. They're saying, you can't do that. No one's ever won that. And it's just that discipline that is with you all the time in every building. And someday I might get close to doing a good one.